Hello, everyone. My name is Philip Palumbo. I'm the host of the Palumbo podcast, where we interview some of the most successful founders of businesses to learn about their journey to the top. Today, we have with us Brian Esposito. Brian is founder and CEO of Esposito Intellectual Properties Enterprises. Brian J. Esposito leads EIE, a multifaceted holding company with a global footprint. EIE operates in over 25 industries and manages more than 110 entities and 200 plus joint ventures worldwide. EIE's portfolio spans sectors such as media, technology, blockchain, security tokens, retail, beauty, fashion, liquor, health and wellness, hospitality, esports, aviation, space, mining, oil and gas, and much, much more. EIE is headquartered in Miami, Florida, with presence in over 20 cities, including New York, Los Angeles, Dubai, London, Singapore, and others. Brian's achievements as CEO is been consecutively ranked among the world's top 10 CEOs in 2020, 2021, and 2022 by the World CEO Rankings Award. He's also named the top 100 people in real estate and the top 100 innovators and entrepreneurs. He's recognized for building companies with strong balance sheets, sustainable earnings, and profitability, early ventures, including a business ranked among the Inc. 5,000 fast-growing private companies for 6 years. Brian recently, in August of 23, is now an owner of Diamond Lake, which is a publicly traded company under the symbol DLMI. So, Brian, quite the resume, and super excited that you're here with us today. So, thank you very much.
Thank you, Philip. Honored to be here, pal.
All right. So, if you can, I know I just kind of described a little bit about EIE, but if you can just quick as you can in simple way, understand exactly what you do.
Yeah, great question. So 24 plus years as an entrepreneur, starting, building, and acquiring companies. So as you mentioned, this is where it evolved into today. I started in the beauty industry in the late 90s. I built the first B2B, B2C e-commerce platform for beauty, had a bunch of stores, global distribution, launched over 1,200 brands. But why I bring that up is I worked with some of the most influential celebrities, entertainers, athletes, musicians, and up to influencers on building out their brands, their personal wellness plans, or their beauty brands, and building multi-billion-dollar brands for them that ultimately got sold out to people like L'Oreal, Revlon, Estee Lauder, LVMH. But I had this amazing mousetrap, great reach. I built, I built something impressive for people to come to me. I was Amazon.com's first beauty retailer. I was Jet.com's first retailer. I was first to launch Google Wallet, even though that was a big failure. There was a moment where I woke up where one of the brands I launched and distributed for sold for over $1 billion, and I didn't have any equity into that brand. I was the facilitator of building the brand and getting it out into the market. And then I also lost the distribution of that brand. And that was the common model because the acquirer and most of these other beauty companies have their own distribution models or direct to consumer. And I said, this model's got to change, even though it was successful ant farm I built. But it just was very debilitating for your mental health and wellness. And like, what the hell is going on here? Something's wrong with what I built. So from that moment on is why I set out to now have all these different businesses across 25 different industries, is I wanted to own as much of the pie as possible. And rather than people taking advantage of me and what I built and my brain and my relationships and how I work, I wanted to flip the script and invite warranted people into my world, build together, grow together, and create win-win situations for everybody. So it sounds easy, but when I decided to go into the music industry over 15 years ago and launch a band and think it's the same as the beauty industry, or then go into the fashion industry and think it's the same as the beauty, and it's not. But I've gotten my ass kicked in every industry I've gone into. Proudly, I wear those scars and bruises with honor. Absolutely. And it helps me understand where the bodies are buried. It helps me, maneuver and find out who the good guys are, who the bad guys are, and just build relationships. At the end of the day, why my model works so well is that it is this value machine that I can take something what somebody I meet today and drop it into my ecosystem and immediately create value. And also, I really believe in relationship building, and the whole idea of building great future partners stem from building a great friendship and bond and relationship today. And there may never be an ask of that person, but one day when there is, if you have a great relationship and a great supportive network around the world, you can really move mountains together.
I can't agree more. And in fact, one of the goals that I have is to grow my network, because I do think that is really, really important. And I have 3 young boys, and And I was just thinking literally the other day is sitting down with them as I always do and just share with them like how important relationships are, right? Because if you think about like when you have a deep, let's take your best friend, right? If you have a best friend and you need something from him as it relates to, let's say, business, you have no problem calling up and say, listen, but you got to do me this favor. Here's why. And he's your best friend. He's going to do it right away for you, as I would for him, right?
Yeah.
So, or any of your best friends. And that's the type, if you could have a lot of relationships like that, not everybody's going to be your best friend. We know how that works, right?
Yeah.
Not everybody's looking for not everybody's in your best interest, has your best interest, or really has your back. We know that. But as far as relationships, we are saying it's so important to the evolution of one's business.
Absolutely.
So, Brian, so great point. So your business now is more of a venture business?
Well, I'm very active. I'm not a passive investor in anything. So the companies that are either wholly or majority owned by me, they're my rules because my ass is on the line and I have my system and strategy. And then there's amazing companies all over the world that reach out to me, from concept to startup, Fortune 500s to failing companies. And I have a really de-risk model in how I work. I join the companies as a member of the management team. I don't take advisor or board member roles. That's not my style. I like being in the trenches with management. And like I said before, it's peanut butter and jelly. What do I have in my holdings, reach, or partnerships that this company needs to help create momentum, to help build value, open up new markets or opportunities, help them with profitability? And also, I've learned a lot of people are sensitive, or I hate using the word tough. They don't know how to be strong in certain situations, and I'm good at that. Like I can come in and clean house and rattle the cages a little bit, and still make the CEO or the management team feel okay. Like they don't have to wreck their relationships. Like I'll come in and I'll have and ask if they have a slew of advisors, right, that have their points, or maybe they're getting paid monthly and they're not doing anything. I'll come in and say, okay, guys, you've been milking this situation. You have 30 days to bring some meat to the table. If not, your shares are getting clawed back and you're not getting anything. So get to work. And then you start seeing momentum. You start seeing energy back into the company. Or I love distressed companies where I don't come in like a guy on the panel of Shark Tank. I come in like, all right, let's breathe some life back into this business. There's value here. Let's find it. Let's find the opportunity. And the unfortunate, ridiculous, shitty thing about life in the world, it truly is who you know. So that's why you got to go out there and meet as many people as you can and build as many relationships as you can and cherish those relationships and nurture them. And, when you need something, like you mentioned, when you were talking to your boys, there's somebody on the other end of that phone or email that'll respond back and help you or open a door for you.
Right. Absolutely. So what take from this, having you on is invaluable for a lot of reasons. So when you identify a company, right? And I'm going to go into something in a moment, but I just want to hear what you're going to say. So when you identify a company and you say, wow, light bulb goes on for you and said, hey, I can make a difference here. So what is it about a company that you look for specifically that you think you could turn around?
So first and foremost, I'm not money oriented, and that probably has got me into more harm than not. So there's not like I'm into a situation to earn more money, buy things, get a bigger home, go on a fancy vacation. So that's not my motivator or North Star. First and foremost, I look at who are the decision and principles. Do they have integrity, ethics, morals, values? Are they people that I can work with? Do they have strong levels of empathy for people? Like I need to see those characteristics, or I will never touch the company or do anything with them. Because if they're motivated by pure money and more things and greed and ego and all these 7 deadly sins, then I know, because of my experiences and what I've been through, that they'll do anything to achieve that, which means to be putting me and what I've built in harm's way. So I'm not going to jeopardize that. There are times when people slip through my processes, and rather than be mad at them for either taking advantage of me or screwing me or embarrassing me, I usually thank them and say, okay, you showed me a vulnerability that I still have. I appreciate you, making your point. You have to get out of my life now, but now I know I have things that I have to fix that make sure that doesn't happen again.
So you look for certain characteristics, right? How do you identify those characteristics? Do you go to lunch and dinner and start asking questions? Like, what is your way?
Sure. Yeah. I could pick up on it right away. If someone's flashing me their watch or bragging about their stuff or showing me a fancy logo on their belt, I'm out. There's quick, I call them character flaws or insecurities that people have that just don't work with me. And I don't judge people. God bless you. I want you to have the best things in life in the world. But I've met people like you with different names and different clothes, and I know what you're going to put me through because I've been through it before, so I'm not going to do it again.
Right.
Definitely going out to lunch or sitting in a hotel lobby and how they treat people in the service industry, how they tip. Are they genuinely nice to people that they're not going to get anything from, that's a key indicator if they're a good person. And consistency on that, because anybody can maybe pull the wool over your eyes. So you do it a few times and see if they're consistently a good person. And they have, again, good integrity and character. And it's the empathy word that I really start to emphasize as I continue my journey. I want to see people feeling bad for people, and not, oh, poor that person, I feel bad for them, but understanding that their life may be a lot more less blessed than yours, and they're waiting tables or they're, washing a car. Like, you just have a little sympathy and compassion for them, and, take time out of out of your day and acknowledge them as a human being. And if there's a tipping situation, like, give as much as you can and help that person and acknowledge them. And that's what I want to see in people. Then when it comes to the business, if you're that kind of guy or girl, I know we can accomplish anything. Yeah. And I will share my world with you if I know that you care about people.
Right. I love that. That is awesome. So I call it the Ken Langone. So when I launched my book, I had a bunch of friends, family there, clients, things like that. And then so I finished it off saying, which I thought was interesting because I think about this all the time, right? So many successful, wealthy people, as I do, and I always say, like, wealthy people and successful people, like, they should kiss the ground that they walk on, that they were first born in this country, which is amazing. Yeah. One. And number two, hopefully you're born into a loving family, right? And so if you have those two qualities, I don't care, how much money you have, you shouldn't be pounding your chest. You should say, thank God that I was born in this country. I was born into, loving parents. And then, thank God I got where I got. And Ken Langone has a test that he will go out to lunch or dinner with anybody he's doing business with, and he'll observe how they act with the waiter or waitress. And if they act in a way that they act like the waiter or waitress is beneath them, he won't do business with them, and vice versa. And and many times, like, when I'm out with people, business people, whatever it may be, I'll observe that as well, and I'll look at if someone acts a certain way, which I've been in situations like that. It is such a turnoff. Like, I'm done. I want nothing to do with you. I'm done. So it's true, because if they have the characteristics that you're looking for, then from there, like you said, you can come together and you can do anything. Love it. Love it.
No, I agree.
I want to talk about relationship building, right? So founders of businesses that listen to this podcast. So talk to me about when you say building relationships. So how do you go about actually building relationships and broadening your network?
Yeah, it's something.
And one last thing I just want to say real quick.
Yeah.
Honestly, the way, and I could kind of see what you're talking about, just the way you reacted with me. You saw me and Anthony Scaramucci on our podcast, and the way you responded was like you were so genuine, and then you kind of did it again and whatever it may be. So I don't know. I thought you were interesting. So
thank you. I appreciate that. Yeah, that's who I am since I can remember. This is it. And I've gotten smarter and wiser through my evolution, but I care about people. I put people first. And it's like you mentioned, it's being there. It's supporting people without an ulterior motive. It's being genuine and consistent. So for the example that you gave, I love that I got to see your content because of Anthony, who's a dear friend and on our DLMI team. And then because of that segment, I got to watch all your other stuff. I'm like, oh, this is a guy that's a kindred spirit to me, the way that you communicate. So it's a pleasure for me to support you, because you're taking your time, you're having these great conversations with people, you're posting it, you're building up your brand. So that's the empathy side of me, where I know how hard that is and how much noise there is out in the world and how much content and IP there is continuously being created. So the few seconds that I can give and support you and share and give you a comment, it's my pleasure. And then there may never be an ask that either you or I have for each other, but right. I want to be there and support people that are doing what you're doing, because you're providing value and you want to help people based upon your experiences and your guests' experiences. So it's a home run. But for me, I've been invited into rooms as a young age that I should never have been invited into boardrooms and some incredible icons of businesses, because I respect people. I know when to sit there and shut up and listen. And now that I'm 44, I have a little bit of an age to support my work and efforts. I have some tangible things you can look online and point to. So now that my thoughts and emotions and feelings are the same that I've always had, but because I have some track record, I have a little power behind my voice. So for me, it's finally a great place for me to be as an old soul, and knowing things that I shouldn't know at a young age. And, I'd rather sit with an 80-year-old guy all day long and just soak up his or her experiences and what they've been through in their life, I'm drooling with that experience. I don't want to sit in a nightclub acting like an idiot doing bottle service and thinking I'm important. So I've always gravitated towards wanting to build relationships with great people. And the way my mind works too, like I've been to hell and back. I've met awful people on this journey. I've met people that screwed me, took advantage of me, stole from me, but I never blamed them. I always took responsibility and accountability. I'm the one that allowed that person into my life. I'm the one that allowed the outcome to happen. So I have to fix that. And also, I met some of the most amazing people through that individual that screwed me, because that other person and I have this trauma bond that we both think we're smart people and we got screwed over by this idiot. So I built a lifelong friendship and bond with, the domino effect of that awful relationship. So depending on how you're wired, it's always important to try to find the positivity in any experience that you've gone through, and don't sit in the corner and cry and why me about it. Just learn from it, move on, and make sure that doesn't happen again.
In terms of building your relationships, do you think of it is there a particular strategy on how you think about doing that or expanding your network?
It just happens. Yeah. I don't solicit anything because I don't go into a relationship with an ask. I can meet somebody sitting in an airport and we become, best friends. It's about, I believe people come in and out of your life for a specific purpose. And for me, it's always, things happen for a reason. Let me build a relationship. So that means there's the initial point of contact when you meet, whether it's virtually or in person. I'm very good at keeping the conversation going when it'll be like, hey, hope you're having a great day. Follow right back up with them. Kick some ass today. Happy Easter. Happy Hanukkah. Merry Christmas. Oh, I just saw you had a new baby. Congratulations. So it's someone in the relationship has to keep it alive because life is very chaotic, messy, and noisy. So I'm very good at keeping the relationships alive, and very good at showing what I hope is genuine, caring connection that I have for that other person.
Love it.
And at some point there may be an ask, but that's never the top priority for me.
Absolutely. So I want to get into the business aspect of it. So relationship building, networking, all part of building a business. You meeting someone, they having the right characteristics, all part of building the right business. Now you've got all that checked off on your list, right? So now, the way I look at business is businesses are solving for a problem, right? You're solving for a problem that you have a better solution for, right? Not every time, but you understand most of the time that's a lot of what businesses are about. Do you agree with that?
I think initially, yeah, you go into business I think there's passion too. And it depends where you're at, what kind of business we're talking about. But I think you have a fire in you or a passion to go into that business, whatever industry that it is. And then I think it evolves into having a better way of doing it, whether it's service or a product or IP.
Right.
But again, the evolution of that company can be so different because at some point, decades later, a kid takes it over, there's a new CEO, and now it's got a whole different leadership or culture, and it's not the same as it was when it initially started. So that question's great, but it depends on the life cycle and where that business is and who's still running it.
And so from your experiences, what do you think makes one company more successful than another company?
I always say it's people. It's people and it's support. I don't judge a person by their bank account or a company by their earnings. It's about what are they doing, their impact, their vision, and are they treating their people well? It's one of the biggest things I talk very vigorously about AI, and it's just the opposite of treating its people well. It's replacing its people with cost cutting measures and more efficient technology. So I think the best companies in the world will always support and back their employees and their team members because that's their army, right? That's who they go to battle with each day as they're trying to fight off competitors, as they're trying to fight off any slew of issues or lawsuits, or maybe there's some sort of something happened with the company or the brand where they have some negative press going on. You can't just rely on one person sitting in the big chair that has a CEO, even though that's their responsibility. They're accountable for everything, but he or she needs good people around them in order to succeed and grow and overcome problems.
It's really true. So I was sitting down with a very successful investment banker. He is 82 years old. Ton of information you could learn from him. Just like you just said, I love sitting down with the guy. We had a beer together in Florida, and I literally
Nice.
got out of my way to meet with this guy just because I
Nice.
love him and I know I could learn a lot. So, I asked him, what are the number one thing that you look for in a company before you make an investment or lend to a company? He said, without a doubt, the key to success of a company is 50 to 60% the people. I mean,
Yeah.
it's all about the people. So it's almost like, and I always say all the time, like when I'm an investor for clients and balanced portfolios, type of clients that I work with are people who sold their business and come to me with most of their money, if not all of their money. And so everything's well balanced, and all the public equities I own, in the perfect world, which is not easy, Brian, I would
Yeah.
love to meet with each CEO and just get a feel for them. But I think that alone would give me the conviction I need in owning the businesses that we own on a public basis.
Absolutely.
Even so we're doing some venture deals as well, direct investments. One of them is quantum computing company, and so the one of the co-founders, I was able to review a video that one of my investors knew the co-founder really well, and it just, you could tell this guy just by listening to him talk that he was fully engaged in the business, and it gave me a lot of confidence. So people I totally agree with you. That's super, super important. So once you have the people, and you touched on it before, and I think a lot of people listen to this will really want to know this is, so now growth, right? So you could have a widget, I could have a widget, but your experience with branding and growth may be much better than mine. And because of that, you're going to have much more success. In fact, my product may be better than yours,
Mhm.
but because you're great at marketing and growth and branding, you win the race. You agree with that?
I think it's an aspect of it, and then it goes back to it's who you know. You may have the best product in the world, and let's just say it's a consumer product, but I know that the buyers at Target and all the big box stores, I'm going to get the orders because I have the relationship there, and I know how they think and how they buy. And then at some point, I'm going to, well, I don't think I'd ever go into a business with an inferior product, but to your example, at some point, I'm going to have the distribution and the resources and finance to build a superior product, even though you had it first, or you created something that you think is really unique and your IP is really unique. But so the branding is going to be very important to support the distribution, whether it's direct to consumer or it's into retail or other distribution channels. You want people to get excited when they see the brand. You want them to have some sort of emotional reaction to it. But that's never going to happen if you don't have the access to or the venue to display the brand or the product or service.
But Brian, what about people who listen to this who say to themselves, okay, Brian's 44, you build a great network and you have the relationship. So, that's going to be an additive to building a business. But let's just say I don't have a network, I don't have the relationships, and I have a business. What do you advise on that?
Build the network. Go on LinkedIn, find the right people, communicate with them gently. Don't go in and ask a novel of your demands and what you want in your ass. Say, hey, how are you? Hope you're having a great day. Hopefully they'll respond, then hit them back saying, hey, if you have any time, I'd love to just give me 5 minutes. I'd love to go over something with you that I think there's a good fit between what I'm doing and what your company's doing. People don't pick up the phone anymore, which I'm very good at. Pick up the phone and call somebody. You'll be very surprised that they're going to be just as shocked that somebody called them and their landline in their office is ringing. Or go and wait and sit in the lobby and hustle. I'm sorry. I mean, you're not going to do anything overnight. And the mentality with certain generations expect immediate results. Two things when that happens: you don't appreciate it, and it usually dissolves and disappears quickly. And the earnings that you made from it dissolve and disappear quickly because you think life is that easy. And the second thing is, you don't build this seasoned warrior mentality where there's going to be problems in life. You've overcome them in the past. When another problem gets thrown at you because of your experience and because of how far you've come, you have the mental strength to say, okay, here's another problem. No big deal. I don't have terminal cancer. We're going to get through this. Not a big deal. It's just a business. It's just money. It's just a product. It's nothing that requires this vast amount of angst and anxiety and stresses. Life always moves on. But you can't get there unless you've been through so much shit. So I always suggest to entrepreneurs, like, go through as much as you possibly can, get your ass kicked everywhere. even when I'm there helping them, I'm like, well, I'm not doing you a service if I come in and fix this in seconds. You need to get slapped around a little bit because you need to learn how to figure out problems. Otherwise, you're not you're just not well equipped to handle anything, let alone be a CEO or have fiduciary duties or be somebody that people trust and invest in, or be something that you build products for that consumers can trust, that they have the right leader, making sure that the right ingredients and the right components are in those products because of the consumer's well-being. Like, you just have to, it's like an athlete. You have to train, you have to strike out, you have to hit a home run, you have to hit a single. It's no different than being in business.
Right. So do you use LinkedIn a lot for networking?
Yeah, I was there. I was one of the first ones on there. I built a great community there, and I think it's an amazing tool when used correctly. Even as you build your audience to share some of the things that you're doing, it's great to keep that momentum going. And it's great to, again, if you, as a startup entrepreneur or founder, it's a great tool to find like-minded people that you admire and to say, hey, building this company, I'd love for you to be an advisor, for example. I'd love to have a couple hours of your time a month and help me. Like, when people go to somebody and ask for help, guns on the table, it's such better than, hey, I'm going to make you $1 billion if we just get 1% of this. I hate those stories. It's nauseating. Don't be so cocky and arrogant. Ask for help. When you ask for help, you're going to get it.
Yeah. Love that. Love that. Are there any other avenues besides LinkedIn that you would use to
I think network conferences is tough. I think going to expos is tough. Everybody's running around like crazy. I'm not the guy wearing a badge or a name tag. I hate that stuff. I think if you find one person, like, forget about a huge net. Find one person that you've seen on TV, or you read their articles, or you've seen a interview or a podcast, and somebody that you can connect with, that you feel like you can have a beer with and you can build a business with. If you focus on one person and trying to get their support, then you get their whole network, right? Then you get everybody that they know. So I think if you just took time doing that, and that may be flying to meet with them, or taking a train to meet with them, or scheduling anything you could possibly do to get some of their time, because you believe in your heart that that person can change your life, do everything you can to get them to support you any way that they can.
Love it. Love it. So you were always an entrepreneur since you, I guess, graduated college?
No, since teenager. I was out hustling, mowing lawns, finding ways to earn. My dad was very successful in the beauty industry, but I never looked at what he did or had as my earnings or my money. No, I wanted to go out and have my own way. I just had this pull in me. So no, I've been always out there earning and hustling and figuring out how to create value and build relationships and make money. And it just evolved to where I am today. And it's some of the basic principles in a business. That's why I'm involved in so many different industries. They're no different. It's if you want to be in business, you need earnings. If you want to stay in business, you need to be profitable. All this other stuff that happened, I have valuations that don't make sense. Bubbles burst because these bullshit companies aren't worth what the perceived value is, or the market is telling you that they're worth. So I'm not wired that way. I'm wired, let's go and build a strong business. Let's have a great brand and great offering. And let's have a great team supporting that, and just strong earnings, and then rinse and repeat. And you have to adapt or die. That's been my entire model. I mean, I used to sell nail polish. Now I'm a leader in security tokens and took over a public company. So you never know where life is going to take you, as long as you're open to it and you're accepting the good times and bad times that you go through as all part of the learning experience.
So as far as going back into branding, and the key, what do you think the number one way to build a brand in your experience has been?
Good product, understanding. I don't think anybody can launch a brand in an ivory tower. I think you need to be out in the market. You need to be walking around the streets and understanding the prices of things, what people are earning. So back to the product, it's got to be, the consumer's a lot more educated and have a lot more access to information now than ever. So you need to make sure your product hits on all the points that people are looking for, as far as, are there any chemicals in it? Is the packaging eco-friendly? All these buzzwords that people are looking for. And is there consistency? I don't like fads or trends. I don't like putting all types of time, money, and resources into a product that's going to not be needed in a year or so. So you want to make sure you're going into that process with building a brand that's got longevity. And I think some of the biggest brands I ever launched had one product, and they've grown into dozens or hundreds. But if you want to build a brand that has an anchor product and something that you can create demand for, it's a hell of a lot easier to do it with one item and going out with it than trying to educate people on the brand and all these different formulas or all these different aspects of different products that you launch. So it can grow into a big brand. But I think if you're going to do something with ease and comfort, find one item that you can go out and make money with. And in today's world, you can have systems make you a website in 10 minutes. You can go find a co-packer to turn key a product with that for you. You can do it in a way where it's on demand too. You don't have to put up any money. So going into business today is much easier than it was when I started. And it's much easier than when I started than it was 20 years before me. So it's just the abilities and access to go out into the world and create something for yourself and, control your own life. All those opportunities and resources are there for you.
What is your personal view of AI? Where do you see it going? How do you see it applying to business? What is your view?
I'm not the supporter of it. I'm very careful as to if and how it's deployed in any of our companies and what we do. I think there's no regulatory framework around it. I'm very disappointed about the billions of dollars that have gone into it, and it's so fragmented. There's all these different use cases for it. I would have loved to seen a ton of money going into AI to cure cancer, heart disease, solve food insecurities, do things to ensure that we have fresh, clean access to water. But it's shotgun. All these companies, like they did with the idea of Meta and the metaverse 3 years ago, they're just using AI as a way to raise capital. And I don't think there's really any strong strategy around what are they actually doing and how is it going to perform for the world? And is there going to be some regulatory aspect that's going to retroact some of the initiatives that have gone into place because it's like the Wild West. And I'm very sensitive because I care about people, how it's affecting the workforce and how people are being eliminated. Also, being in TV, film, music, and media, I'm very scared about how AI is replacing talents and creatives. And last month, one of the fastest growing bands that were earning revenue was a complete AI band. That's scary for 100 million people around the world trying to break into the music industry. And then you can spin up a product in seconds using things like ChatGPT. So where are the graphic artists in the world? Where are the animators in the world? What's happening? What's going to happen in TV and film and all these amazingly talented actors, actresses, and producers and linemen and editors? Like, it's just the writing's on the wall that it's disappearing. So that scares the shit out of me. Where are these people that love doing this thing, that need to do it to earn? Where is that money going to go to local economies, and how are these people going to survive? It just seems like maybe 100 years from now, because of what's happening in AI, we're going to have the most beautiful humanity life anybody's ever seen, but we don't live there. We live today. So I have to worry about me today and people today.
So your point is, which I understand, is the amount of the billions of dollars that are going into build. The first thing is to get the hardware going, which is the data center build outs and everything. So you could actually continue to run the AI and to do what it wants to do. So your point is these companies, they're spending all this money, but they don't really know how it's going to really help their bottom line.
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't think so. Or what it's going to do for the domino effect of it. Because if again, I'm kind of a black and white guy. So if a company is eliminating thousands of people in their workforce because using AI to do all their jobs or create products or make more efficiencies, well, those people are also your consumers. So if they're not making money because their job's been eliminated, they're also not going to be buying your product, consuming your product, or experiencing your product. So if all of these companies initiate this AI movement, and the first thing that happens is people are eliminated from their jobs. And as a public company, that's the first thing CEOs love to do, because, hey, that's an easy cost to go to the bottom line. We're going to get rid of 1,000 people because we just initiated AI. And the investor community loves that. Well, that's disgusting to me. That's deplorable. So I'm looking 10 steps down the road. If all these people are not earning, and their skill that they went to school for, that they spent thousands of hours learning, is replaced because of a machine, what are they going to do? They're going to need Zoloft. They're going to need they're going to be alcoholics. They're going to need to turn to something because they're lost now. And these are the things that the empathy side of me thinks about as it relates to people that have great skills that are being replaced by computers.
If we start to paint that picture, what'll happen is unemployment rate will go skyrocketing. The economy will go into an abyss because we're 70% reliant on consumer spending. So my whole point to you is that, which is kind of, I think what you said before, though, there has to be then regulation because you can't destroy an economy. If you destroy an economy, you're destroying the strongest country in the world, which means now we weaken ourselves. And perhaps other countries, the same thing will follow suit. And I hear this a lot with AI just taking over the world essentially. And I do obviously I think that's is a good argument. I can see with look at Microsoft and Google and all these companies that are laying off people because they're using AI to essentially what AI will do is increase profit margins, make companies more productive, and the economy more productive. So I don't know. I just feel like if there's a situation like what you're painting, which many people are painting, I'm not saying I disagree with it. I just feel like unemployment rate will go through the roof and the economy is over with. So those companies that saved money by laying off, now their profits went down 20%, 30%. So you're probably in a worse situation because you got rid of those 1,000 employees.
Yeah, that's the domino effect. That's what people aren't thinking about now. But there'll be stimulus checks that go out. At some point, it evolves into a socialism type of environment, right? And then I've been very vocal about we do not have a good economy. Credit card debt's at an all-time high. Louis Vuitton put out numbers where the headline was the luxury shopper is no longer spending. Bullshit. No, the person that's trying to pretend they're rich doesn't have any more credit to go out and buy a luxury item. That's what's really happening. And I don't believe we are the strongest economy in the world or a superpower because of that. I believe it's because of our military. So there's a lot of things that I look at, again, black and white. I think you're a few years older than me, maybe younger than me. I don't want to insult you, but it's fun. 28? God bless you. 48. Beautiful. All right, we're in the same bracket. I should ask you first, does it baffle you, these psychological maneuvers that people do that they don't ever think there's going to be another correction or a depression or a recession? I mean, I've been through 3 in my age that I remember specifically in our age. Sort of the 80s savings and loan thing I vaguely remember because my pops lost a big check. So I remember that, but I wasn't personally affected with my work. So I remember 3. And the fact that people think the stock market's going to keep going up and this is going to happen and it is mind-boggling to me. Absolutely. Like, do you not realize that this is all manipulated bullshit? It doesn't make any sense. There's no data to support what is happening right now with our stock market or with your portfolio, and what you're going to boo-hoo cry when all of a sudden your broker that you think has a crystal ball, they're just selling you a pile of shit that the firm's telling you that they need to sell. I've been there. I was in lawsuits against Morgan Stanley. They sold me garbage Fannie Mae and Freddie Mac preferred securities in 2008. Our family lost a fortune, or in 2007. And then it became quasi. Oh, no, they're quasi-government-backed securities. Like, if your money's in the market, if your money's supporting these other firms that I believe have unsustainable valuations and it goes down, you can't cry about it. You're at a casino. You got to look for good companies with seasoned CEOs with good visions that adapt or die, that are very smart with their margins. There's consistent growth. There's dividends. There's interest. There's things that companies are supposed to do, which is why how the stock market was initially created, was to provide returns and dividends to their shareholders and yield. You can't cry to me when your stock goes down. Like, I'm not going to, no, of course it's going to go down. There's not, the multiples are 80. Like, that doesn't make any sense to me.
Yep, 100%. I mean, so what I've been educating a lot of clients, because of course clients call me up and say, hey, should we add more to NVIDIA? Should we add more to AMD? And it's like this, and I tell them, and I say this, like, listen, there's going to be a day where these stocks are going to be down 30, 40, 50%.
I love that you tell them. I love that you tell them, man. Kindred spirit.
100%. It's going to happen 1,000%. It's not going to happen. It's going to happen. Obviously, the question is when. Right. And what I'm trying to help them understand is, like, when happens, I'm not gonna know. I'm not gonna say, okay, this is the time. Let's get out. Like, you're just not. No. And during the 1995 to 1999, there were several situations where there were corrections, but then obviously you had the major down move, which was that 50% move down. So, and the thing is, like, people, like, I grew up in this business where we've seen multiple corrections of 50% and 30% and 20%. I saw a market where market went nowhere from 2000 2013. So So people who are new to investing don't understand this, and I do. It's like I've been trained like a frontline soldier who's been at war. And so you're 100% right. And that's why, I like to say the value of what we do is helping educate people, being honest with them. And this is saying, this is why we're balanced, because I'm not going to tell you when things are going to crash. I'm just not. But what we can say is, okay, things are stupidly overvalued. I'm not saying they are now.
Right.
Like, that some parts are not, some are. Rebalancing or taking some chips off the table, stuff like that, I think is extremely healthy.
Yeah. Well, we're lucky to have you. Your guidance. You're a rare breed, because that's not the norm. People are out touting all
totally.
day long, and at the end of the day, well, you might be a little bit different, because it's not. I think you, as you said, you came out of the traditional brokerage world, but they're not liable for anything. Just like a lawyer, you can go into lose a huge case and lose your entire life and millions, and they're like, I gave him my best shot. Here's my bill. Here's the remaining balance. So,
Brian, I tell people all the time, if you're going to fire me, it's only going to be because I'm too conservative. And the reason why I'm too conservative with your money is only because I know that bad things could happen and happen quickly.
Yeah.
So anyway, I want to actually sort of transition to money, right? So you invest in other people who find businesses, they invest in their business, and they have a solution they think is better. They go out there, they build a brand, they market, they grow the business. Now you're doing well. And so what my book is about in the corner, my shoulder here is I always hated the word retirement because it's archaic.
Yeah.
I like the idea of saying to yourself, I want to get to the point in life where work is optional, where I'm financially independent. So Charlie Munger said that I want to be rich, not because I wanted to drive a Ferrari or Lamborghini, but because I wanted to have financial independence.
Mm-hmm.
So Brian, as you think about what you're accomplishing and the businesses that you're investing, how do you think about wealth management, and how do you think about money for yourself personally?
Yeah, well, you're a rare breed, so it doesn't apply to you, because I can tell you really care about your clients and your and money. So after that '08 crash of what happened, I said, that's it. I'm investing in me. I know what I can return. So that's where my model really shifted strongly, where I'm going to pour money and resources into me and to the companies that I'm involved with. That's why I'd only taken a board seat or an advisor seat, because you have no idea what's going on in the company. You're spending a couple hours here, a couple hours there, and then you get together and you think you're a big shot because you're a board member. Again, nauseating to me. That's why when I work with a company, I need to be at the management level. I need to see what's going on there. I need to see their books. I got to understand how they're spending money, where the business is. And then I can help, right? Because I know where all the bodies are buried or what's actually happening. As an advisor or someone that's an outsider, I don't have access to the information. So it's not worth my time. And I'm also not the guy, I'm not, you can't be half pregnant. So I don't go into a business and, hey, sprinkle a few hours here, you're welcome. No, I got to be in the trenches with you. I got to be in bed with you. And we need to be building this thing together. So hopefully I answered your question. Like as far as anything I'm involved with, I'm investing into it because I'm involved with it. And that's not to sound like I'm God. I just know that I'm going to work and I'm going to figure it out until I'm dead. Somebody else, I don't have that confidence in. Just, hey, here's some money. I believe in you. Good luck. I only know it works if I'm there with them.
Right. So other founders who don't have confidence in themselves to necessarily invest money. But all of us have profits, right? So like I have profits in my business and I have to make a decision. And this is more where I want you to look to get your feedback on. So do I take that dollar of profit and put it all back into my business? And the benefit of that is you don't pay tax on it. And then you invest it in the business with the hopes of it growing. Or do I take 50 cents of it, buy real estate, buy stocks with it, and, grow my wealth outside, kind of, just lock in some money there for financial independence? That's more along the line.
I'm going to give you my answer firsthand experience. So I think the hybrid approach of diversifying is always good. I love real estate, and I also love if you own the building and you own the business in the building and you have a sale leaseback model, you build a lot of value in that building. What I did wrong at the beauty company is I reinvested millions and millions I didn't take a check. I just kept reinvesting the money and building that business. I thought being last to eat was smart. No. And I don't like saying I would go back and change that, because I've learned so much because of all of my actions. I wouldn't change a single thing I've done in my career or my life. because I'm the man I am today because of all those pieces. But what I should have done is created another company, a financing company, where the money flowed into the financing company. And when my business needed money, I would be the bank and lend money to my business and pay myself a fair interest rate back. No different than if I were to go get money from a bank or take hard money loan or whatever, any means of credit or access to leveraging your assets. If you have the privilege of having a profit and having a moment where I could put money into the business, I could pay me, or I can go diversify. Yes, diversify is always good, but you should be pulling money and becoming your own bank. And that bank that you own, which is your personal potential earnings, is what's fueling the business. So you create your own little economy, and it's unreliant of whatever the market's doing. So you really protected yourself. And to me, that's the best outcome to have, where you can be your own bank and you can earn from the money that you lend to your own business.
Love that. That's awesome. Really awesome. So I want to just finish off with culture. Culture is an interesting word because, I don't know, people have different definitions and whatnot. So how important is culture to a company, and what's your definition of culture?
It's everything. Oh, it's absolutely everything. And all the companies that I'm involved with, there are some consistencies in the baseline culture. It's people love to come to work. They love to perform. They love to add value. It's because they're seen and they're appreciated. So the culture initially is that everybody has power in their voice, everybody's seen, they're acknowledged, and they're properly valued. So when you have that kind of culture, the company is going to thrive. And also, if the company is not doing so well, because you have a great culture, you have people there that are going to help you push through and figure it out. Now, there's going to be a point where if they have bills and mortgages and car payments and health insurance, and if the company can't provide the resources that they need, I don't fault people if they have to leave, because they have real responsibilities and obligations and they got to earn. But a really good, genuine culture is crucial to the business, and it can't be fake. It can't be superficial. It's got to have, business needs a heartbeat. It needs to thrive. It needs to be a healthy heartbeat in order for people to actually they just actually feel part of it. If you need to build a business where people feel part of it, and maybe that doesn't mean that they own equity, because if it's a family business, there's so many different dynamics, but they just need to feel part of it, and they need to talk about it.
How do you make them feel part of it?
Make them feel seen, make them feel appreciated. Go on LinkedIn and Instagram and, hey, Jessica did an amazing job today. Thank you for working with that client. Like, make people feel seen. The people that can't do that are the egotistical maniac CEOs that want to take responsibility for everything, except the bad stuff. They don't do that. The narcissist doesn't take responsibility for the bad stuff. You have people around you doing great work, giving you their time. Yes, they're being compensated, but they can do that anywhere else. You need to show them that you love them, that you appreciate them, and give them kudos, give them credit. I've had people in my career that didn't want to leave certain holdings, even though they could have made more money elsewhere, because they just loved getting up and going to work. And also, this remote culture, it doesn't work. People need to be in the same building. They need to they need to have camaraderie with each other. They need to be being creative in a real space where they can touch the table. I love that we can have this conversation, but this is not best efficiencies at all.
I agree with you. Great stuff. Before we conclude, anything that you'd like to share with our audience about your companies, or anything we can do to help you?
Oh, thank you. Well, this is a great conversation. I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you. And what we're doing at DLMI is a groundbreaking public company. We're the first ones to put on our disclosures and financials that we are, I guess I can go back a little bit. What I set out to do with DLMI is re-strategize the company. So I built it like an old school General Electric. So you have this parent umbrella conglomerate with all these industry agnostic subsidiaries, assets, or companies that we wish to acquire, build, or grow. Build out those companies with amazing board and access and team that we have, give them great support and opportunities to thrive. And oh, by the way, we have tokenization and crypto built into these companies in the way that I see it should be properly done for any business. And that's because I've applied it to my private holdings over the last 13 years. So I've had this entirely different model as to what tokenization truly is, how it can be applied to businesses, and how the 99% of the world And you'll relate to this. You in your traditional brokerage days, you would call a client because you were allocated, I don't know, 1,000 shares of Facebook when it IPO'd. So you would call your top client or your top earning and say, hey, I got 100 shares of Facebook for you. That's how the wealth gets richer, because they were blessed, the good old boys network. They were invited into an opportunity. Tokenization changes that. So the 99% of the world, because of companies like what DLMI is doing, you have the opportunity to buy into anything that we're involved into, whether it's 50 cents, $1, $500, because we have this crypto component where they have the ability to own a piece of it or own a piece of the future revenues or something tangible. So what we set out to do there is, it has been groundbreaking. We went to a co-investment with a regulated digital asset exchange. So my mindset has always been, I live in the United States. I have U.S. banking. I can't go into gray area. Is this a security? Is this not a security? We treated everything like a security. We launched security tokens. We support these with proper offerings and management and prospectus. And that's what we set out to do. So now with the new administration and everything going crazy over tokenization and crypto, and we've become quite a spotlight on us, which is great. And we've got amazing team members like Anthony Scaramucci and icons of industry across multiple industries. So it's my life's work. I'm honored to take the helm of this company and take it from $1 million market cap when I took it over to, I think we're near 400 million. Just wow. Our strategy, just our work and our efforts and what we believe is the future. So we truly are just getting started. So I appreciate the opportunity to share a little bit about us and what we're doing.
No, absolutely. I appreciate it. Listen, your perspectives, Brian, were really awesome. One of my favorite podcasts I've done so far. So
thanks, man.
I appreciate everything and the perspective. Let's definitely stay in touch. Look forward to building a relationship with you as we talked about relationships and the importance of that. So good stuff. Thanks so much. I appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. Have a great day.
You too.